All right, welcome back to Good Vibes. A lot of you wanting to know, what is Debbie going to talk about next? Well, before the show, remember that song Love Machine? Great song back in the 70s. Well, Debbie's going to talk about the love languages. I can't wait to hear this. It ought to be a great topic. Debbie, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, the love languages.
Yes.
Sounds so easy, but so often misunderstood.
So often misunderstood. And we know that love and connectivity are a primary need for humans. We literally need that, right? But what happens if you're in a relationship, and whether you're talking about a romantic relationship or a relationship between you and your children, you and your friends, and you feel like you're pouring everything that you can into the relationship to show the other person that you love them, but they don't feel loved, right? And that's what Dr. Gary Chapman ran into in his marriage counseling. He found over and over again, couples would come to him and say, I don't feel loved by my partner. And the other partner would be like, I do all of these things. I cook sometimes, or I go to work, or I rub your feet. For whatever reason, it wasn't translating. And what Dr. Chapman found is that there are 5 ways that humans will express love on an emotional level. Because really, at the end of the day, it's not a question of do you love them? It's a question of do they feel loved, right? And if we don't feel loved, if our love tank, so to speak, feels low, all kinds of bad things happen in the relationship, but also just our health. We're not doing well as human beings if we don't feel loved.
Right.
So
there's 5 of them. Let's bring that up. We want to let people see that on the screen, and we're going to show it to them as we continue to talk about it. There they are.
Yes. So love language, the first one is touch, okay? Humans, we need touch. And it's important to note that you may look at these love languages and you may say, well, I like all of those. And we do. As human beings, we all love words of affirmation. We all love touch. But there's typically a primary way, the most meaningful way of expressing love. So the most meaningful way that you like to give and receive love from another human being. So typically, whatever your love language is, whatever would be most meaningful to you is the way that you express love as well, okay? So the first one is physical touch, and that is self-explanatory, holding hands, giving hugs, things like that. So if you're somebody who likes to give and receive love that way, in all likelihood, that's the way that you will express in a relationship of any kind, I love you, right? But we all know people who are like, I'm not a hugger. Like,
well,
don't touch
I'm
me,
a check off as you go.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm a hugger. Okay, so that's one.
Yes. So the second one is acts of service. So little things that you do for someone that that they would appreciate. So if your primary love language is acts of service, for example, and you're asking, let's just put, for example, a wife is asking the husband, hey, can you fix the broken screen door? And it goes on and on. Now the man is going to work, he's doing lots of things, he's giving his wife compliments, he's even giving her gifts, but for whatever reason, he hasn't gotten around to the screen door. There may be a deficit in her love tank simply because her expression of love is acts of service, and she's making a request specifically about an act of service that would be meaningful to her, and it's not happening. So in a relationship like this where someone is, their primary love language is acts of service, doing things for them, cooking for them, just cleaning up their house or, whatever, those are going to be the things that mean the most for this type of person.
Okay, I'm going to put a question mark on that. Okay. Now, words.
Words of affirmation. Now, this is mine. This is my personal. I have a lot to say on words of affirmation, but this is basically like compliments. So your hair looks nice. The more specific, the better, right? So instead of saying good job, like I really love your attention to detail. No one has ever done it this way. I can tell you as a person whose love language is words of affirmation, I can remember every single person who is the best at giving compliments or so, because it's such a good feeling within my body that like it creates this Rolodex of humans in my life who have made me feel the most loved. So words of affirmation, it's all about like gassing someone up. And again, if you're in a relationship and all the other things are being met, you've got the gifts, you've got the touch, you've got all of the acts of service, but there aren't any compliments or there aren't any words of encouragement, that can create a deficit in the love tank.
All right, so we're moving right along. The next one is time.
Yes, quality time, though. This is very important. We're talking about the television off. We're talking about having the cell phones put away, really dedicated quality time. Now, my son, my 7-year-old, is quality time. And so ever since he was little, if he's talking to me and I'm not paying attention, he will literally take his little hand, grab my chin, and rotate my face to him and say, "You're not even listening." And so what's meaningful to him is having my full attention, being fully engaged. You can actually see it in him that it means a lot to him and it makes him feel really loved and gassed up. So if someone has quality time as their love language and you're not spending time with them, no matter what else you are doing, they will feel unloved.
All right. So with a minute left in the first segment, then we're going to come and analyze all these in the next segment. But love language of gift.
Gifts. So again, this is a universal thing. People love to have gifts, but with someone who has a primary love language of gift giving, it means even more. And we're not talking about, it doesn't even have to be extravagant gifts. It can be homemade gifts. It can be just a little cup of coffee, something that you give to that person that shows that you love them. This actually gasses this person up even more than the average. So yeah.
Now that we started an argument in every living room. In HTV's viewing audience, but not necessarily
Not
an argument.
necessarily.
Because some people know they got this.
Absolutely. And this is really powerful because if up until this point, you have been in a relationship, again, whether it's romantic or not romantic, where there has been this blockage in communication, because it really is all about the communication. We want to come together. We want to unify. At the end of the day, most of us, when we're in a healthy place, we don't want to make our partner or our children feel unloved. And yet it happens. So if you can start thinking in terms of love languages, and this is really important from a communication standpoint, being able to actually say what would mean the most to you. Out of all of these things, how would I best express love to you? And learning someone's love language and actually taking note. Some of my best friends in my phone, I will have in notes what their love language is. Because at the end of the day, my intention is to have them feel loved. Right? So this is a powerful conversation in relationships. If you haven't been getting it right up until now, and in each of you or one of you feels unloved, if you're able to establish with your partner or your children, what is it that makes you feel the most love, and really hear them. And again, we talked about this already. Most people are going to be like, well, I like all of these, right? And there's probably a secondary or a tertiary category, but for most people, there's one primary way that you would prefer to have love expressed to you, and it's typically the way that you're expressing
And
love.
there's one that stands out in everybody, right?
Yes, there should be.
So what did you say your primary was?
My primary is words of affirmation.
I would say mine's words too.
Yeah.
Words would be one, and touch would be two.
Yes, touch is a big one, and it says especially a big one. A lot of men name the touch.
And then the other three, that's a toss-up. So, for people watching, how can they? Because you know what's happening in the living rooms right now. The husband's going, "Well, yeah, I'm definitely a touch," and the wife's going, "The hell you are." No, you're not. And he's going, well, "What do you mean?" So, how do you identify?
Yeah, so it's basically if you're looking at the list and you start thinking about these examples, like hugs and hand holding, back scratches, things like that, or for touch, when someone compliments you, like how does it make you feel? What makes you feel the most expanded? When you get a gift, does that make you feel expanded, or is it kind of like, oh, that's cool, I got a gift, right? You usually know in life what feels the best. And again, if you're having a hard time identifying it, how do you show somebody love? Because that's usually your love language, whatever way that you feel to express. I know I have friends who just give gifts. They give gifts to everyone because their love language is gifts. And so what's really good, and what actually made stop a lot of arguments in a lot of relationships, is, oh, wait a second, he does love me. His love language is touch, and he's always offering to rub my feet, right? Or his love language is words of affirmation, and all he ever does is compliment me. So if you can understand that this could just be a breach in communication and an understanding, it can be a powerful thing, and you can shift into a way where you're actually speaking each other's language, and the love is actually being conveyed and received. So
now, is there a typical means that two people get along the best? Would they be compatible in this, or Can they be completely opposite?
Well, they can absolutely be completely opposite. Obviously, if you find somebody who shares your love language, it's easy, right? You're probably not arguing in the first
rub
place,
my
right?
back, honey. I don't feel real good.
Totally, exactly. But it's 5 love languages. We all connect to them to some degree or another. So it's a matter of communication. And one thing that, and by the way, Dr. Gary Chapman did write a book called The 5 Love Languages, and I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it. But if you're not, definitely check out the book and his work. It's amazing. But just asking the questions, open communication, being able to say, how full is your love tank? This is his recommendation. How full is your love tank? And on a scale of 1 to 10. And if it's anything less than a 10, how can I bring it to a 10? Powerful questions. Again, we all want love. What we lack oftentimes is understanding and communication. So if we can bridge that and understand that we all are different people operating from different perspectives, then it can heal, and you can do it pretty quickly.
But in a relationship, it doesn't matter if I think I'm a 10 on touch. What really matters is if my partner thinks I'm a 10 on touch.
Absolutely. You
So
have
it's
to
not
be.
about what I think, it's about what the partner thinks, right?
You have to be open that your experience of what you're doing might be different from their reception of what you're doing. Absolutely, always. And so that's why those 2 questions are so powerful. Like, how full is your love tank on a scale of 1 to 10, and how can I bring it to a 10?
And reality and perception are often misunderstood.
Especially in relationship.
So once they get sort of ginked together, and you could all start, or stop arguing at home, because you got a way you can connect all this, but it can be a very powerful thing.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, make sure you're giving yourself your love language too. Make sure you understand what you need and give it to yourself first, so that everything else is overflow, everything else is lagniappe, and you'll be happy whether you're single or in a relationship.
Well, I think what we're going to do, I think we have to do this, Debbie. We have to, a lot of you younger folks who haven't heard this song, we're going to play it for you, because that's the best way to end this program right here. I'm just a love machine, and I won't work for no money but you. See that? Just a love machine, and I won't work for anybody but you.
Yes, there you go.
That's the ultimate gift, right? All right. Debbie, you ever heard that song?
I have, yes.
Pretty good stuff, huh?
Very good.
All right. It's been Good Vibes with Debbie Cox-Denova. We'll see you again next week for another episode.